Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. He's been on the program before. We're joined by Paul LaPolice. Yeah, Lapo, if we asked you, what is your favorite Labor Day memory? Is there one?
First of all, I'm in on the golf tournament. If that was like Dave Thomas from Strange Brew, how cool would that be? Right?
Or Wendy's?
Right? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Favorite Labor Day memory? So there's so many. I think in 2007, we scored a touchdown on like the last play of the game, going to kick a field goal to win. Kerry Joseph took a draw for a touchdown.
I remember that.
If you remember that one. So 2000, there's a lot of losses, when you're on the Bomber sideline. So I was on the Bomber sideline a number of times.
Lapo knows he's talking to a Saskatchewan audience here. A lot of losses on the Winnipeg side. You know where your bread's buttered, LaPolice.
Right. 2016, a last-second field goal was really a lot of fun to win that football game. So just great experiences. But the best thing about it, I can remember being a young coach in the league coming over from Toronto, and just the first time we played that game, for myself going, wow, this is like SEC football. Coming over from the East. Hamilton, the rivalry was great between Toronto and Hamilton, but just that Bomber rivalry, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool, and seeing the fan support. I mean, I tell you guys, we couldn't stay in our hotel, and I don't know if you did that, Arash, because people pranked us at the Bombers, so we actually had to move to Moose Jaw to make sure we could get some sleep. Yeah.
The whole team went in 2008 to Moose Jaw, except for Charles Roberts. Lapo, he stayed behind, and he had himself a night in Regina. I know that must shock you.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Big 7-Eleven cigarette guy. That's a classic story.
What do you think we've learned about Winnipeg the last 2 weeks going up against undermanned teams, and what did we learn about Sask last week in Calgary, if anything?
So, I think I'll start. I think Winnipeg, I covered that game last week, and watching those guys, an interesting thing is they're a little bit different than here, and they're trying to find a little bit more. Last year, they were play coverage all day and just not allow completions, and they were fine not getting sacks. The last couple of weeks, I've kind of noticed a little bit more pressure from this Bomber defense, trying to rush the passer, trying to bring some blitzes, trying to create some mismatches to help their offense and turnovers and negative yardage plays. Offensively, I mean, the reason this team, the Bombers, are struggling is because they're the worst turnover margin team in football league.
Yeah.
If they fix those, Zach is protected.
Lapo, we're cutting out. We're just going to call you on your phone because this is great stuff here. If that's okay?
Okay.
Cole said, yeah. Drop it and then give him a call because that's really good info. What he was saying. We got to get him to start that whole answer again. Do you have the number? You guys can pass it on here while I buy some time.
Colson, here you go. I get the turnover margin. Look, that's the name of the game, right? You cannot lose the turnover margin and expect to win, and that's something that's happened to Winnipeg a bunch. But also, Winnipeg's secondary has just been so susceptible to the deep ball over and over again. So, okay, yeah, they beat Montreal. Great. Montreal's got its fourth-string quarterback. So I'm interested when we get Coach back on, just kind of what he thinks of that.
And that game was tight.
It was until one-score game with 8 or 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
And I remember going, wow, if Montreal can do this. He did mention that, I think he's cutting out there, that he notices the Bombers are getting a little more pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Willie Jefferson, when we talked to Zach Caleros about that,
here's the thing about Winnipeg's coaching. They are so stubborn. We especially have seen it in the last number of Grey Cups, where they've led at the half and lose. They are stubborn with their three-man rush. You can't keep doing the same thing in a sport of adjustments. So, yeah, you're getting a little more pass rush. That's going to be you can't keep doing the same things. Jordan Younger knows that. Mike O'Shea knows that.
You got him, Colson? Okay, I'll let you go and ask that one again because it was really good when he was going down.
Yeah, Lapo, we were talking about kind of what we learned about Winnipeg going up against, fourth-string quarterback, et cetera, what we learned from the Riders in that loss. And the turnover margin for Winnipeg's been a big factor, but what else do they need to do? What else has been different for them?
Well, I think sometimes offensively, when they've either turned the ball over or they can't get first downs, and everybody always just says you got to get the ball to Brady. You got to make sure, back in the Andrew Harris days when I was there, you got to get Andrew Harris touches. And the thing I always say is yeah, you do, but you got to stay on the field. So if you can't keep getting first downs, or if you keep turning the football over and lose opportunities to keep the ball in your hands, nobody's happy. And the tailback's not going to get his touches. So I think for the Bombers to be good, they've got to make sure that they have success on first down, which is a captain obvious. But I say it this way, sometimes, teams are very boring when they're sitting in second and long. They look like everybody else. Now, when you get first downs or in second and short, now you can go, speed sweep to Dembski. Okay, play action pass, shot downfield. Zach can take shots, but he doesn't like it. He'll throw the check downs like he normally does. So I think that's something they've got to make sure they do. They did a great job last week getting Brady touches and staying on the field. But to me, it does come down, I don't know if you heard what I was saying, is, they have the most giveaways in the Canadian Football League.
Mm-hmm.
If they protect the football, whether that's Zach or whatever, they're going to be in the games they need to be. Defensively, they're playing well. They've given up a bunch of explosives, but I think they're pressuring a little bit more talking to Jordan Younger than they did. And, when I talked to him, he's like, it was kind of more of, last year we were so young, we didn't have a lot of packages in to pressure, and then what we were doing was working. So we kind of stayed with it. This year we're a little bit more veteran unit. They were very young on the D-line last year, so they got some more veterans, so now they can do a little bit more pressure. And the one thing I will say is they got a great kicking game. So, those are things that win football games if they can, protect the football. And certainly, going into Labor Day, I know that's always a difficult place to play, but they do, they really have an established kicking game that comes close to the kicking game. The Riders have struggled in that area.
When you look at the Riders Stamps game, and obviously here everyone's talking about it, I don't know. Sometimes you don't match up well against the team. The other times, you just lay an egg, which I don't think that was the case. Sometimes teams just beat you man on man, and you get out coached a little bit. What do you make of that game Saturday in Calgary?
Well, I was doing so that's probably, I did 3 out of 4 games last week.
Yeah.
So that's the one game I kind of saw in the airport, sitting in the Air Canada lounge. So not totally studying it and seeing everything. Sometimes you're going to get beat by good football teams. Saskatchewan Roughriders said once again, I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I said it to Corey on the field, Corey, I said, listen, you've got to make sure, you got a really good football team, and your guys, got to be prepared and ready to go each week. And he was like, yeah, I got a crew that I don't have to police. Those guys know what they're doing from week-to-week basis. But part of winning championships, you're going to lose games. That's just going to happen. Vernon Adams is so good. He's got the ability, with his legs, but also take the ball downfield. And I think defensively, Calgary Stampeders are, they don't give up big plays. They don't make mistakes. They put you in a position where you better drive the length of the field. And if Trevor is off a little bit, you're going to be in trouble because the other group on Calgary's offense are going to put points on the board. So, I don't look too far into that, oh, my God, what do they have to do?
Right, it was a dud.
Really good teams. Yeah, you're not going to win every game. Yeah, they got good coaches on both staffs. Just think of it. You got 2 elite quarterbacks. You got 2 really good defenses. You play that game 5 times. Depends on who wins turnover margin, who has a block punt, all that stuff. So, really for the Riders, it's just all right, let's. There's 4 or 5 key moments I hope our players learn from, and then let's go play this week.
Lapo, I don't understand Calgary's success on defense. They don't do very much exotic stuff. It seems very base package across the board. How are they having so much success on defense?
So it's interesting. When I talked to Bob Slowick to start the season, I think I had an interview. I think I must have had him week one because I had an interview with him and I wanted to talk to him. And I obviously has a big NFL background and
No, we may have lost coach again.
Players kept saying is the thing he was saying. You guys still have me or not?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Okay. So the big thing that he said is, I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can so the players can sprint to the football. And I have a bunch of new guys in all new positions, and we haven't played a lot together. So the one thing I would say is he hasn't overloaded them mentally. That's the first thing. Second, when you watch film, it's a lot of coverage. There's not a lot of cover zero blitzes, which means extra pressure. It's not a lot of man coverage. It's a lot of zones, and they keep everything in front of them, and they rally and make plays on the ball. The other thing they have done a great job is stopping the run on first down to make you throw on second and long, and they just rally up and make tackles. So don't give up a lot of explosive plays. They don't play a lot of man. And they're stopping the run on first down, making teams one-dimensional. So I think that's what they've done defensively. And you're right, Arash. They've done I don't know who the studs are on that. You got Flo, who's a great player at the defensive end position, and Damon Webb's done a nice job. But there's not superstars on that defense. They're playing hard. It's a hats off to Bob Slowick and Dave Dickinson for actually making the change and what they've done.
When you're going into a hostile environment, like the Bombers are coming in this weekend, which is awesome, and you were part of it coming in here, and then Banjo Bowl next week. What's the message for the team as a head coach? Just embrace it. It's going to be awesome. Take it all in. What do you tell the Bombers coming into Labor Day?
So I always enjoyed the process. So what's going to be happening? First of all, for the Bombers, you've got to work silent cadence, and you have to prepare for silent cadence in the summer. So in training camp, I always made sure we were offensively doing some silent cadence so we didn't have to just do it in the prep week. So that's the first thing you're working on. And it's kind of a cool challenge for your players to get tuned in on that. So then the next thing is I always tried to educate the players. I'm like, listen, man, God, it's so fun to go into somebody else's house and go perform and execute and quiet a crowd. So that's our message was always hey, let's go over there and let's make our plays and quiet the room. And especially from a standpoint of when you do talk about crowd noise, it's okay, well, it's really hard for their crowd to get into it when you're up 10-0. How long do we hold them off? So you're always trying to do something to make sure, embrace it. Nothing better than it. We get an opportunity to go play in front of a huge crowd, everybody watching, and I know it's going to be a challenge because they got great fans and all that. Well, let's quiet the fans. Let's enjoy. Nobody's expecting us. It's them against us. Let's go make our plays.
$5 Pilsners, though, Paul. It might take a little bit longer for people to be quiet in Regina on Labor Day. Hey, let's talk some flag. I'm super excited. I've been following it. What's next? What's next for our national men's flag team? You guys, was it Panama coming up?
Yeah, so crazy how fast. I was just doing some scheduling this morning. So I've done flag football for 3 days straight, and I've been drawing plays for our ready list for Panama all day today. So what happens is next week the coaching staffs have meetings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights with the players online, going over kind of our game plan for Panama. Then on the weekend, the following weekend, the Banjo Bowl weekend, I go from Banjo Bowl, come home Sunday, then go to Montreal. We have Monday, Tuesday, 2 days of practice, training camp in Montreal. Then we all fly to Panama City, the men's and women's, for the North American Continental Championship. So we will play Mexico, Panama, the U.S. are the top people in that. Ourselves will be out 10 or 11 teams playing. We want to finish in the top 5, get to move on to Worlds. So, yeah, it's been kind of quiet for a while. We've been watching film online and stuff, but now we're getting back to competing. And so looking forward to having a couple days with the guys and then getting ready to go compete. And then, how we handle ourselves here goes a long way in where we are ranked in the world. So this is the last tournament we can control, like, where we rank in the world.
Good point. Has the team stayed the same? I know when we talked before, there's going to be maybe some guys moving in, some guys moving out. You said the training camp thing. Are you always kind of looking to maybe add a couple pieces?
Only one piece has changed, so we only have had one piece of change from that. So, I'm kind of excited. When we have Michael O'Connor back there slinging it, we've got a good opportunity to win a lot of football games. And it's interesting, though, like you guys, we were already on and Arash was on with you guys talking about our game against the United States. So I'm sure, like the United States is probably going to have probably watched our game film and everything, and we won't, they'll be ready to play us. Everyone in Mexico, I remember a couple of players that I know. I actually coached 2 global players who actually play in the Mexican team with the Red Blacks, and they texted me right after we beat the U.S. So I don't think we're going to surprise anybody, but that's okay. We got enough new stuff to surprise them right back. So.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, how much of this is going to be a cat and mouse game? Because I remember when we spoke, Lapo, after you beat USA, a lot of those Americans hadn't seen CFL offenses before. They hadn't seen that kind of motion and the waggle and all that stuff in a flag game. Do you just want to show kind of a little along the way and not kind of empty the playbook now and kind of continue to save it for all these different qualification events along the path?
Well, I would say this, like, the cool thing for me personally is, some of these United States games, you watch them play, like they played in the Worlds last year against Austria. So I put the game on to kind of break it down and get all the information. And this is the number 1 versus number 2 in the Worlds 2 years ago. And Austria's down 40 to 7 in the first half. Like, you're like, what the? So it was really good to play a game where we had the lead. They were playing their best stuff for a whole, for a whole football game. So now, like, I've got a lot of film of the United States where I can, let's put it this way, I've had enough time to watch film to go, oh, that's what they do to this. There's a couple of things they do very specific to certain formations. Now, they've seen me, but I also have a better understanding what they do. And hopefully, like last time I was just kind of calling plays that we believe would work. Now I can game plan against the U.S. myself a little bit. So hopefully we have some stuff that attacks what they're doing. But they're talented. They're a really good football team. Mexico is really good, and Panama is really good. Watching these guys the last couple of weeks and breaking them all down.
The U.S. are they kind of the only team that really run that 2 quarterback system?
Oh no. Mexico, Panama, and the U.S. run multiple. Sometimes 3 different quarterbacks will throw it. They'll rotate guys back. And what happens when you rotate all those guys back? So if you play with 3 quarterbacks, and what that means, quarterback takes a snap, 2 receivers go back behind the quarterback on either side of them. Now you have 3 guys who could. There's only 1 pass rusher, so
you can run.
The rusher has to chase all 3 guys across the field, and you still have 2 people running. Yeah. They run back and forth in the end zone. Now you can cover with 2 of your man-to-man players. But now there's 3 rushers and only 2 cover guys. And, sooner or later that'll break down. Yeah. So there's just, we're going to have to be ready for all that multiple quarterback system. And Joel Lipinski, Saskatoon boy, does a great job with the defense. And when we played the U.S., they didn't score a touchdown in the first half. Their only touchdown we gave up was a safety. We threw a pick 6.
Love it.
But we were talking last week, and I said, Joel, we really got to make sure we can handle the multiple quarterback stuff. And I played with that a little bit, but for me, like, we may have some of that stuff, but it's really hard when you've got Michael O'Connor, who can make every throw, can do great things, has great anticipation, can locate it and throw to, flip it back to a guy who really doesn't throw the ball as well as you want. Yeah. You don't have to do it because everybody else does it. Right?
And for those who don't remember, Michael O'Connor not only quarterbacked UBC to a Vanier Cup, but he was a professional quarterback. Played some games for the Argos.
I can't wait. I hope it's streamed again because I want to watch it.
Lapo, I keep telling him, bring the SportsCage down to Panama. Let's do it. Let's do the show in September from the Continental Championships.
Yeah.
But Barney's not listening.
I can't claim that much mileage.
Next year we'll be in Dusseldorf, Germany for the World.
Dusseldorf.
Oh, who hasn't? Yeah, who doesn't want to go to Dusseldorf in August? I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Get my Lederhosen. And let's go.
You think there might be a beer hall or two we could hit up in Dusseldorf?
You know what? Quick story before I watched your games, Lapo, and I think I wrote down a couple of plays. And then I got my daughter. We went down this rabbit hole. We took like 3 plays. We watched the state final from Texas. I think it was 8, 9-year-old girls. Some of the plays they were running, I was like, this is awesome. I love flag football is so.
And flag football is your jam, Barney. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, Barney, it's funny you say that because that was my biggest hang-up when I started the job, because there's just so many different ways to run it and so many different teams do so many different things. So it took me a while to be like, no, I'm going to do what I know. I know, and this is a Mark Trestman thing. I remember years ago, Trestman kind of said, like when he and I had a talk in an off season, he's like, when I first got the job, I watched all the stuff you were doing in Saskatchewan as the OC. I was like, man, this stuff's good, but I didn't know it, so I ran our stuff. He's like, I don't know why our splits were not as wide as the CFL, because I didn't know CFL splits, so we ran the NFL splits. So I did the same thing. So our stuff looks, I tried to do as many different combination of route concepts that are CFL type. And, that's what I know. And then now we can go, okay, we've run this. What's the play off of this that you do in the CFL?
Exactly.
How do we force a switch in motion and all that stuff that you see with the multiple motions and the differences of flood plays up here in the CFL and so much passing. Hopefully we can continue to develop that stuff and grow. And
absolutely.
Got to get our guys. I can't have too many plays. That's the problem. Sometimes there's too many plays.
Play to everybody. All hooks at 5. Biggest guy catches the ball. There we go. March it down the field.
You go left, you go right.
Lapo, thanks so much for doing this. I know it was a busy week for you last time, so we appreciate it. Thanks, Arash, for hooking this up. Going to be watching closely on that flag stuff, and we'll have to have you back on.
Okay, guys. Thanks. Take care.
Right on.
Thanks, Lapo.